Visual language of design. Something really interesting is happening through the history of art. We have been going through a process of abstraction when we're making painting. When I say we, I mean artists, painter. So this is an example of work by Vermeer some 400 years ago. What you will see here is quite realistic painting. It is like taking a photograph with your camera of a city. The purpose was to show life as it really looks. So we can see people, we can see the shadow reflection of the houses in the river, we can see the river. It's very real. Going further to this artist. Now can you see the differences in terms of the quality of the painting? Not the subject matter, not necessarily what is drawn, but how it is drawn. This is more abstract, that the artist put more emphasis on the brush stroke, on the fact that he's holding the brush and he's painting as if he's sculpturing. This is almost more important to this artist than the previous work. In the previous work, the most important thing for you, for the reader, is to see the city, the way it looks. You don't see the brush stroke, you don't see how it was made, because he didn't want you to see. As we move forward through the history of art, we see that artists made it more impressionist, more expressionist. Now the important bit is how the brush strokes are moving. Look at all the shapes and the color, how it is made. Going even further to this important painter, Turner. Do you know Turner? Amazing painter. Look at this. This is far more abstract than even the previous one. Look at these colors. You're almost unable to recognize what it is. From the title you would know it's about rain, steam and speed. But from a quick look at it, when you look at it first time, and I'm going to come this way to see how it looks from here. Yeah, can you recognize that there is a train there?
Kind of.
Kind of, exactly.
What do you need to look for?
You need to know what to look, because that's not the most important thing. It's not snapshot in a camera, because it doesn't want to show us how reality looks. It doesn't want to show us how reality looks. He wants to show emotions, speed. He wants to show the gush of colors. Look at this of colors here and over there. Very much different
Gil,
to this.
do you like that painting?
Which one?
This one?
I love it.
Do you?
Yes. I love this painting. Do you like it?
Not really.
What would you look for when you would look
Well, it just seems unclear.
Exactly.
It's frustrating, you can't really see.
Come closer. Come closer, let's have a look.
Yeah, it's almost like it's blurred.
Yeah, it's slightly blurred because of the projection.
Well, no, I mean, that's how it's supposed to be.
There's an alcohol closer. Now look at this. That blood, this splodge of paint. It is a defined shape. Look at this.
Did the artist wanted it to show the skill that he can mix the colors and not just railway, basically?
And why would you do it?
Just to show off, basically.
Showing off. Actually, if I was able to do this, I would be very pleased, because it's not easy.
Yeah, exactly.
It is
Just to show that you progress in your skills, improve it.
Improving your skill, expressing emotions.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily about showing you what exists out there. This is something we did 400 years ago, because we didn't have cameras. Now we have cameras. Camera can take a photograph of reality. It is about speed. And that's what you would get. You would get the feeling of speed. Even if you remove the subject, which is a train, you can see the movement between the colors. So your eyes doesn't look just for the subject. It doesn't look just for a train or a human being, which it recognizes. It also looks at shapes and colors. So if I have color here, my eye keeps jumping between those different colors. So just the fact that we abstract in reality, we create in movement and subject. We create in meaning. Very different. I recognize everything. Whereas this, look at the movement and the shapes. I'm not saying it's pretty. Prettiness, aesthetic is something else. I'm talking about the skill and how he identified the main element in reality to be able to abstract them. You have to understand the elements of reality to be able to create abstraction of that reality. Now we moved from realistic, naturalistic, as you can see here, to more and more abstract, emotional, expressionist. Let's take it further. Look at this work. What do you think it is?
Tree. The look,
Yeah.
it's done. with fingers as well,
Yeah, that's a good point.
not brush.
Yeah, it is brush, you may be able to see here, but it could be made using fingers, you're right. The important thing here is that you can still recognize it is a tree. I'm not saying it's pretty, I'm not saying it's interesting, I think it's beautiful. Some may not think so. But look how he abstracted nature, so abstracted the shapes of a tree. Look at the brush stroke here. I don't know if you can see it, so it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, whoosh, whoosh. So he looks at tree, and this guy is amazing, that's Pete Mondrian, he can draw realistic as well. I've seen his work. It's not that he doesn't know how to draw, therefore he does childish thing. He draws very well. And when he developed his art, he made it very much more abstract. This is what I would call abstract. You see the shapes and the colors in their infinite format. You don't see much detail of a tree, but still you can understand it is a tree. To be able to do it, you have to really understand the language of design. You have to know how things are made, what are the components that makes an image. Decoding of image, a tree, to its main shape, we have trunk, we have the branches, to the main colors, and how he creates the composition with the brush stroke. He didn't fill the whole space with color, he makes small line, because that creates dynamic. Even if you don't know it's a tree, even if I turn the tree upside down, look at how much dynamic it is, only thanks to the brush stroke. So your eyes follow a brush stroke, he painted like so. Your eyes follow it, and it also follows this brush stroke. So it's very dynamic. You can create movement almost from nothing, from a bit of shapes, a bit of colors, and your brush stroke. This is the process of abstraction.
Could you also call that quite graphic? In that when you do graphic design, you use blocks of colour, and it's not quite so much the shading and delicate changes of skin tone and colour and light and things.
Absolutely, exactly so. In fact, the previous example, this one, El Greco, I consider this the first ever graphic design artwork. But look at the bold lines, which are very much like iconic lines.
You could find that in any graphic novel.
Yes.
That style of
Yeah.
illustration.
Exactly. So this is one of the first modern graphic design in the Western world. And when we talk about graphic design, we talk about bold images, not without shades. So you grasp the image immediately. You don't need to think a lot. That's one of the first. He didn't mean to do any graphic design or anything, but when we look back, we say that is very inspirational for graphic designers. And going further, with Pete Mondrian, again, this is very graphic. And it's beautiful not because of the aesthetics. I'm not saying that grey is beautiful or that these lines are beautiful. It's beautiful the process he went in abstracting in his mind a tree. A tree is very delicate, very complex. But he finds the mainly important bits, which is the colors and the shape, and he gives it to you here. So process of abstraction throughout the history of art. Let's look a bit at modern art. This is not Photoshop work. This is real paint, acrylic resin paint on 3 locks by Felice Varini. I'll show you the same work from different angle. Isn't that clever?
Oh, right. It's a perspective thing.
Yeah, so it's called localized
Just one
perspective.
point.
Yeah, only to one point. And I don't think the human eye can find that one point. You have to have one lens creating this image. Only in this point you would see the perfect image. So when you stand on the so-called wrong angle out of the vantage point, and you see this is also part of the work. He wanted to play on this game that you are the viewer, you create the work as you move. So he, not just abstracting images, shape uses circle, but he also abstracted the concept of viewing, how we perceive ourselves as viewers. And of course, you don't just paint on canvas anymore. He paints on cities. So the canvas is not the first medium of painting. You see how the process of abstraction from the actual image, you abstract the image further. Now even abstracting the tools that we use in images. It's not anymore canvas, it's street that we paint on. And it's not a single point of view, it's many point of view. So if we don't use the canvas for painting, these amazing artists say, bring the wall itself. Make the wall where we usually put paintings on in a gallery, take the wall and make the wall itself a piece of art. Again, we're abstracting the tools that we use to present art. And I'll show you why it's important for design. And if here we talk about the concept of how we view, here we have another concept of how we view images. What does it mean to view images? This artist is asked in this work from 1965. Now that is a photograph of the wall. But just imagine you standing in front of it. What you will see is a chair, and on the wall you will see a photograph of the same chair. And on the wall in the museum you see a definition from a dictionary. Definition from a dictionary, what is a chair? So let me ask you, what do you think this work represents? Why he would do it?
Is it the difference from seeing a chair in real life to the isolation of a chair in a picture and having then a written definition of a chair?
Exactly. So it's a question about how we perceive the planet, the world. Do we see a real object, or do we see it as a visual, as an image, or do we understand it conceptually by definition? The concept of an object is not the object. The understanding of what a chair is not the chair itself. So there are different modes of looking at things. And this is very important if you're doing a research about your user, when you're designing a product for a user, or when you do graphic design. How people understand what you make. How people see and perceive the product that you would produce. There's no definite answer here at how. It only shows us different way of how people would look at things. So very different from creating so-called naturalist. You don't see the brush stroke here because we don't want you. You see only the image. We want you to see an image as it looks. Talking more and more about the tool of creating images, the brush stroke, expressions, emotions, up to stages of abstraction of the component, the layout, and to the point where we ask, but how do we see it? What does it mean to see things? Where do we put those things? What is a concept? What is an image? Very different stages throughout the history of art, from 400 years ago to modern art. So, there is a process of abstraction in art throughout the history. And by the way, this is not necessarily true, because if you were to live 400 years ago, you may think that the work done then was very abstracted compared to what they did 1,000 years ago. So even this academic definition is only in relevance to what we understand today. But today we can see that there is an abstraction. Now abstraction, why is it important? Why do I bring it to this class? It's a process of you identify the components and the layout of an image. So when you look at something, and when I look at something, I understand there is white, black, yeah, or for this example, you could see square, light, dark. It's not necessarily text written, it's a shape. Everything is a shape. And through learning about abstraction, we learn to observe shapes in everything we see. There's a visual language here between everything. It doesn't speak with words, but it speaks with images, and we can tap to it. And it can help us a lot when we try to link component in design, even product design. When you try to link two images, try to understand the visual, the mechanic language between them. How components are put together. In engineering, we say how components are put together, how you link two components of a product. In design, we talk about composition. So if you think of this as a three-dimensional product, not a painting, you would think about how the components are put together. When you look at two-dimensional, you think about the composition. It's almost the same thing. Now, had enough talking, enough chatting, now we'll have exercise. We're going to create some 3D product, but in an interesting way, following what we've just said. You will choose one product from the many magazines that we have here, and you brought some. I want you to choose a product. You will then write 5 words that describe your product. Then you will draw an abstracted version of it. You will then write another 5 words that describe the abstract. So it was sun in the real image. In your sketch, in your abstracted sketch, you can say circle. Or you can say infinity. Because when you look at circle, it represents infinity. For example, it keeps rolling. And only then, what you will do, the great fun, is now to redesign the same product as a 3D sculpture using your abstracted element. Choose a photo, describe it using 5 words, abstract it, create a sketch, which is the abstract of it, 5 words to describe the sketch, and then build a product. We want to see 3-dimensional work. Let me show you an example here. So you know Juan Miró? 2-dimensional style, 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional. He created volume to his painting. And you'll do the same thing. You'll create sketch, and then you'll make it 3-dimensional. You'll create volume to it. This looks like E.T., doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I was thinking that.
Look at this beautiful 3-line. You may say just 3 cuts, but that's beautiful. That's very graphic, represent. I don't know what it is. Hair, style. It draws my attention immediately to this 3-line and this big massive of a sculpture. Got glue, paper, scissors, everything you need. Okay, are we ready?
Mm-hmm.
So pick any photos you would like, and maybe show it to me as